Right. Shall we talk a little bit about towards recovery? And I know you've talked a little bit about it, but maybe you could tell us how this all came about in terms of what led you to setting up something like this.
I mean, it was
maybe just reiterate what towards recovery is. Just summarize it.
Okay, so towards recovery, we started it in 2012. It was this kind of, it didn't have a name at the time. I had a conversation with a woman who was a police constable within Henley, and she told me a story about drug use in Henley. In fact, it was a weird story. Every year Henley enters a competition called Henley in Bloom, and market towns around the country, fight to be the most in bloom place. And there was people knocking on doors on the estate where I live, and they knocked on one of the doors. I think it was a journalist and a Henley town councillor and someone else. There might have been a uniformed police officer with them. I'm not sure. But anyway, they knocked on the door and they wanted to know about Henley in Bloom. And this woman who answered the door said, "Never mind Henley in Bloom. What are you going to do about all the drug use going on in Henley?" And I think she slammed the door. And so this caused a bit of a ripple. And Vicky, who was the police constable that I knew, our kids went to the same school. We had a conversation, and she told me about it. And I said, usually what people do is they go and complain to the council and ask them to do something. And I said, why don't we set up a group? Why don't we help in some way? Why don't we give drug users in Henley a chance to be attracted to other people in recovery? And I said, I'm willing to have a go. Anyway, she then took 3 months off because something had happened within her family. So I was left with it on my own. And I ummed and ahed, and I started thinking about a group. And then one day I was sitting in D2, which is it's like the church front has a cafe in it, and I'm a member of the church. And I'm sitting in the cafe, wrestling with what to do with this particular problem. And I thought, it'd be really nice to have a kind of cafe environment. And I thought, I'm sitting in a cafe. I wonder if I could rent this place. And so I wrote to a few people. I spoke to the lady that ran the cafe, the Serenity Cafe in Edinburgh, I think. I wrote to Bill. I wrote to Bill White and said, we're thinking of doing this. What do you think? Because he was like the kind of recovery guru at the time. And got a response from him to say these things are happening more and more. And I got confidence in the idea. And so we decided to do something. And Kathy Gingell, I don't give her credit for this, but I think I should, because the addictions report she was working on for the Centre for Policy Studies, essentially the Conservatives in opposition, their addictions component was called Towards Recovery. And I worked with her on that. And I think something subliminal set in. I didn't do it on purpose, but I just called it, we're not talking about addiction treatment, and we're not really talking about recovery per se. We're talking about a kind of a journey on the way to recovery. And so Towards Recovery, we coalesced around that. And then a guy called Nick, this graphic designer, he came up with a little logo for us, and we just started. We rented a cafe, we got people in, we filmed, asking them questions. So on our website, I think we've also got a YouTube channel, and Jasmine has put these videos
I spotted
on there.
Something which was very early day.
And so we started. We got some food. We called people together. We told them what we were going to do. And then we started just doing monthly recovery cafes, renting this church coffee shop. And we had a few conferences. I think 2013, we had a conference, good conferences. I mean, we didn't pay anyone we paid a couple of people travel costs, but everyone came and did it was a gift economy, really. People came and spoke. We had Mark Gilman, we had Kathy Gingell. One year we had Neil McKegney, doing a talk on legal highs, and we actually got the legal highs report that he'd done for me in Buckinghamshire, because I'd commissioned him and various others from the Centre for Drug Misuse Research, as it was then, to do this report for us. So we had John Taylor turned up from Duran Duran on one of them. I was talking to him in the background because I'd met him at cafes, and yeah, he just turned up, and yeah, it was so it kind of we had this monthly thing going on, and we had the odd conference, then we had some event nights, and what we were trying to do was to make recovery visible, to give people, to let people see it and decide if they want to connect to it. We didn't have a philosophy as such, other than we wanted to let people know that even at what might be considered their worst, they were still okay. There was still something about them that was human and good, and they were people. And so we didn't want to kind of align ourselves to the treatment world, where you're broken and you need a professional to fix you, and the professional needs to be paid, and you almost need to wait. You need to wait to get better until the professionals are organised in your area to help you to do that. But yeah, we had a view of people in recovery. We wanted to show people recovery and not addiction. We wanted to show people that people in recovery are assets. They they feed the soil of where they live. They're the people who have walked through deep water and come out the other side. And behind the scenes, people are always saying to those in recovery, can you help my son or daughter? Or can you help me with this? Or, it's never really celebrated, but it's an unwritten rule in my mind that when people in recovery turn up, they can be the opposite of people in addiction turning up. If I turned up in addiction in Henley, I would have been a one-man crime wave. I would have been up to all sorts. But the fact that I'm in recovery, I'm spreading that instead of spreading addiction. So we wanted to have more of that.